I'd like to thank you for watching this video on our teaching of Galatians. We're studying through the book of Galatians verse by verse, and today we're in Galatians, the 5th chapter, verse number 16. Let me just say this, please take the time to go back and listen to all of these videos. I realize that I think it's over 70 videos at this time. I think this is probably number 76 or something like that. I don't know, my numbers might be off, but I know it's a lot of videos, but they're short. Take those videos and listen to them. If you want an understanding of the book of Galatians, take those videos and listen to them, because we're working through this book of the Bible. And I know that you will be blessed if you'll do that. You can find all of those videos on our YouTube channel, and so avail yourself of that. Now today we're in verse number 16, where the Apostle Paul says this, "But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh." Walk by the Spirit. Now notice what he says. He says, "But I say to you," and you need to understand that when the Apostle Paul uses this language, he's saying, I'm making a change. I'm going in a different direction. Now, in the last video, we talked about how the Apostle Paul says, don't bite and devour one another, and then don't be consumed by one another. And so what he's doing is he's drawing a contrast. He's saying this is the way the world operates, but now you can do this. You can do something different. You can live a different type of life. You can love your neighbor. Now, maybe some of you are thinking, you don't know my neighbor. Maybe you listened to the Monday's video and you said, you just don't know who my neighbor is. You don't know how bad and obnoxious that neighbor is. Well, you know what? It's not a love that you generate. It's a love that comes from walking in the Spirit. Now, let's go now to verse number 60. Walk in the Spirit. What does he mean by walking in the Spirit? Now, notice, he's not talking about some type of weird type of manifestation. Now, let me say this. He said walking by the Spirit. What's he mean by this little word "by"? What's it directing us towards? It's directing us towards something that is empowered, something that is led by something else. What the Apostle Paul is saying, you need to make sure that your life is empowered by the Spirit of God. Now, there's a term used in the Bible that says, and I was in the Spirit. Now that term is used a couple times. It was used by the Apostle Paul. It's used by John in the book of Revelation. He said, on the Lord's day, I was in the Spirit. What does that mean? Now some people think that walking by the Spirit is some type of weird supernatural manifestation. You know what? Walking or being in the Spirit is a supernatural manifestation. Do you understand me? But walking by the Spirit is something completely different. Now, I've run into people, in fact, back in my earlier days as a believer, I was so hungry for God, I swallowed everything. And I ended up on a Christian commune. And we were all Christians, so I guess it was Christian commune. But you know what? We got really weird. And we were, oh, Lord, do you want me to turn left here or turn right here? Do you want me to buy this coat or do you want me to buy this? Do you want me to? And you know what? It got so strange. But we were in the Spirit now. We were in the flesh. So what's Paul saying? He's saying walk by the Spirit, walk empowered by the Holy Spirit, being led by the Spirit of God, not in a weird way, but where the Spirit of God begins to move up on the inside of you. You know what? There's times where you feel compassion for someone. You know what? That compassion is not just generated by human empathy. That compassion is the Spirit of God rising up on the inside of you to go and meet someone else's need. Maybe it's to share the gospel with them. That's walking in the Spirit, walking empowered by the Spirit of God. But then the Apostle Paul says in the last part of verse 16, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh. This word desires is the same word used for lust. Exact same Greek word. You will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. How many of you know our flesh has different types of lust? I want to end this video by just going over to 1 John, the 2nd chapter. And this is what he says, verse number 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life. What's John saying? John's saying these three things are in the world. The lust of the flesh. Now here, the Apostle Paul is talking about the lust of the flesh, the desires of the flesh. What is this desire? What is this lust? It's a desire that's out of control. How many of you know that God has placed many desires in our flesh? We have a desire to sleep. We have a desire to eat. We have a desire for sexual activity. We have many different desires in our flesh. We have a desire for enjoyment. We have a desire to laugh. We have all kinds of desires. But when that desire becomes out of control, then it's talking about the desire that the Apostle Paul is talking about here. It's talking about a lust. It's talking about something that's driving us. You see, when Paul talks here about the desires of the flesh, he's not just talking about a basic desire. He's talking about a desire that's gotten out of control. And when we walk in the Spirit, when we walk empowered by the Spirit, you know what? We will not do what that out of control desire wants us to do. You have a sin you need to overcome. Ever tried self-control? Doesn't work too well. Now, spirit control, also translated as self-control in Galatians. We're going to talk about that later. But it's spirit-generated control. You know what? Every sin can be overcome with the Spirit leading, guiding, with you being led, empowered by the Holy Spirit. Thank you for watching. Join us again tomorrow as we continue our study in the book of Galatians.